Manchester City so superior to their opponents today. A lot of questions now surrounding Frank Lampard and his future at Chelsea. Just a reminder then how things look. Manchester City move up to 5th in the table with that victory. 4 points adrift of Liverpool at the top. City, though, do have a game in hand. Look at Chelsea, though, down in 8th now, and they've played more games than anyone. Shaka, that first half, was that more about Manchester City being brilliant or Chelsea being poor?
I think it's more about Manchester City being brilliant. Listen, Chelsea were poor. And as I mentioned during the highlights, huge question marks about Frank Lampard, why he set his team up in the way that he did tactically. You're struggling for confidence, and yet you decide to line up in exactly the same way that City do. That apart, City had to be at their best. And at times, I think this season, we've questioned a lot about City. We've questioned whether they need Kun Aguero back and fully fit, about Gabriel Jesus, about Sterling playing the false nine. I've questioned Kevin De Bruyne's own confidence. And yet everything came together so perfectly for City. This was them at their free-flowing best. And they were good value, not just for the 3, but Chelsea lucky to not be 5 or 6 down, even on the 45-minute mark.
Jürgen, from a Chelsea perspective, a lot of people are saying, yes, but you can't expect all these new parts that they brought in over the summer to immediately gel. They've had quite a bit of time now to get their act together, and it seems in these big games, they're not performing.
Well, definitely they didn't have a good performance today, but I shared with Shaka, today was all about Man City. It was a brilliant performance by Man City. How they played, their movement off the ball, their speed in the game, individual plays like Sterling's runs, and so many things. It just all clicked all over the field today. It's a Chelsea in transition. Obviously, when you bring in a new manager, is a young manager, it will take its time. Then they have the front line is very young, very energetic, but they haven't clicked yet. They haven't connected yet in the way that everybody was hoping. So it will definitely take time for Frank Lampard. I hope they give him that time because it's definitely worth it.
Will they give him that time, Gab?
Well, already you have reports out there saying that, they're considering his future. I think the attitude of the club is they want to see Frank Lampard continue until the end of the season. They recognize all the factors with all the newcomers and the injury and the unsettled squads. I think they do have some serious questions because part of the issue thus far has been, how much he's chopped and changed up front. Did it again for this match, moving away from the big center forward, playing Werner up front. But I think they would pull the trigger only when they think that the top 4 finish is in serious jeopardy. And you can look at the table and say, oh, look, they're in 8th place. Yeah, but, it is an absolute cluster mess there at the top of the table this season in the Premier League, where, as we've seen with Manchester United and now Manchester City, you just win a couple games and all of a sudden you're right near the top of the table, or indeed at the top of the table in the case of United.
Jürgen, you mentioned about how Manchester City were just exceptional today. Why aren't they like that all the time?
Well, it's always, easy to say from the outside, why certain things don't work, and we can speculate as we fans are always doing then. But when you play all these competitions that Man City does or the big teams do, there are moments in time where things just don't work out the way you want them. So you got to go through those periods, through a little bit these up and downs. Teams like Man City, they kind of start then to click over time into the season. And when it goes into February, March, especially then with the international competitions coming back up, then you see the real quality of those teams. But in the meantime, obviously, it's important not to lose too many points in the race for the title in your domestic championship. But I think Man City, they obviously have the quality. They have a top-class coach. So they will find ways to stick up there. And then they're going to make a difference, once we get into March.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.